UFC Fight Night Ankalaev versus Walker. We're gonna break down this card. We're gonna talk about each fighter and my best card picks. Now, before we do that, let's go over UFC 296 because I smashed this card. All my bets cashed, and I want to go over the fights to really give you my opinion about each fighter and the future for him. So let's start with Martin Buday and Shamil Gaziev. Shamil Gaziev looked phenomenal. His striking was on point. His wrestling defense, everything was just there. I have high hopes for Shamil. I see him moving up the ladder and eventually becoming a ranked fighter. Now Buday, he didn't have the best competition when it comes to the heavyweight division. He fought people that were not that good, and I told you guys that when he fought Jake Collier, he didn't look good the first round. He got knocked down, and then Jake Collier just gassed out, but it didn't happen with Shamil. And I explained exactly on my Twitter. So if you're not following me on Twitter, please go and follow. And also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all of you. But you can see here that I said that Shamil is not Jake Collier. He has heavier hands, he has the wrestling edge, and he has the ability to keep pushing. And we saw him pushing in the second round where he got the knockout. Next fight, we got Andrei Fili and Lucas Almeida. I don't understand how people were actually thinking of choosing Almeida. That was my most confident pick. I also shared why I chose him when it comes to the reasoning. And Almeida got a first round knockout. It was incredible. He has really good striking. He's also good with his submission game. That was a free play, and we got it. What else did we have? So Tagir Ulanbekov and Cody Durden. I know I think I said that Cody Durden is gonna win. I didn't make a bet on this fight just because Tagir is not a pushover, and we saw that Cody couldn't manage Tagir's wrestling. His takedowns were so much better. That's the problem with the Sambo people. They can get judo in, and if you're only an American wrestler, you're going to have problems. And Cody had those problems. He just couldn't handle Tagir takedowns, and eventually got his back and submitted him. This was, again, I didn't make a bet here, but I told you guys that I think Casey O'Neill's going to win, but she looked terrible. Or I would say Ariane Lipski looked great. She improved so much in each and every fight. So Ariane Lipski won. I was impressed. Cody Garbrandt as well. I thought Brian Kelleher is going to win, but Cody Garbrandt just went in and gave us a show. It looked like the old Cody. He had a phenomenal knockout in the first round, and Brian Kelleher is not a guy who's easy to knock out, but Cody got it. Irina Aldana and Carol Rosa. What a fight, guys. Fight of the night for sure. Two women fighting their hearts out, and Irene eventually won a hard-fought decision. Dustin Jacoby and Alonzo Manfield. Man, many people chose Dustin Jacoby for a good reason, but Manfield is built like those people, which one punch can change the game. And that's what happened. He gave Dustin problems. Dustin was spamming him with jabs, but Alonzo only needs one good strike to get you down. And he didn't get Dustin down, but he was wobbling in the second and the third round. Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell. I told you guys I like Josh Emmett here, and we saw what happened. Josh knocked him the fuck out. It was scary. I thought like he looked bad. Bryce started spazzing in the floor, and I didn't know what's gonna happen. He looked like he was close to dying. Like that's how it looked at least. But thank God he's all good. He's all good and thankful. And you know what? Josh Emmett is not a joke. Yeah, he lost to Yair Rodriguez. He lost to Ilia Topuria, but this guy is carrying like guns. And we saw that. Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson. I think we all know it's time for Tony to move on and retire. Even Dana said that. So let's see what's going to happen with him. But Paddy Pimblett, I'm not that impressed by his game. Like, he's a good grappler. I'll give him that. But in terms of striking, I wasn't too impressed. He looked very stiff. And yeah, he outstruck Tony, but Tony is not the same Tony we know. So whenever Paddy's gonna get really good competition, I see him losing. Shavkat Rakhmonov and Stephen Thompson. So I got Shavkat and Pantoja and Edwards in a parlay. Thank God they all won. Shavkat, I was worrying the first round. He couldn't take Stephen down. He was really struggling with taking him down. He was just pushing him to the cage. Eventually, the second round, he got him down and he drowned him and got his submission. But he had some ankle injury that was disclosed only after the fight, obviously. So good for him. Will he get the title fight next? I don't know. Will Bilal get it? I don't know. Maybe we should put Shavkat against Bilal. Let's see. But I see Shavkat as a future belt holder. He's a future champion in my opinion. If he would manage to get Edwards to the ground, he's gonna submit him. Bilal, I think the same thing's gonna happen with them. And man, Alexander Pantoja and Brandon Royval, what a fight! Pantoja he's built different. Like, I was fading him in his fight against Moreno because I saw him like dead after the first round. He looked tired, but he's just, I don't know if it's like some kind of a show, but even if he looks tired, he keeps going. He just keeps going and keeps going, and he won. And you know what? The same thing happened with Royval. He looked a bit tired towards the third and the fourth and the fifth round, but he just kept going. And that's what I like about Pantoja. Those are the kind of fighters that I love putting money on because I know they're gonna fight. They're gonna die in the cage if they need to. And Pantoja is such a class act guy. Like, the way he spoke in the post-fight press conference, he's a good example. I like fighters like him. And Royval is good as well. He was really pushing it, but Pantoja, with both his striking and his wrestling, he's another level. I see Pantoja staying a dominant champion for a long time. And main event, Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. I think that Colby was a disgrace for saying what he said in the press conference, and you could see that he felt bad for it because while they were facing off in the weigh-in ceremony, he was like, I was in character, and Leon just destroyed him. 5 dominant rounds. He outstruck him. He even outgrappled him, took him down. Colby Covington, who was like wrestling is his thing. So I like Leon. I think he's gonna be a good. Like, I think him and Shavkat is gonna be very interesting because Leon has really good takedown defense. And we know that striking-wise, he's going to be better than Shavkat. But I chose Leon as well. And thank God I did because he won in a dominant fashion. Colby just looked frozen. In the first 3 rounds, he just woke up in the 4th and the 5th. But it was too late for him. So that's for UFC 296. All the bets I've made personally cashed. So thanks for that because the event before that, I got wrecked. But that's the game. We move forward. We learn. And we become better. Now let's talk about UFC fight night, Ankalaev versus Walker. It's just gonna be in 13th of January, almost a month without UFC is hard. So with that being said, let's start and break down the first prelim fight. We got Westin Wilson and John Silva. Guys, I don't know if any of you watched the war that John Silva had on Contender. He had a phenomenal fight against the Argentinian Kelvin Vallejos, which is he's a hard fighter. He came undefeated, and John Silva, man, he's so aggressive inside the pocket. He kills people. He has really heavy hands, and he's gonna get you. If he's getting to the pocket, you're done. And he's fighting against Westin Wilson. Westin Wilson, he got knocked out by Joe Henderson Brito. That's nothing to be ashamed of. He won. He had a submission win, but not in the UFC. And the UFC is a different level, and John Silva is definitely UFC level. I don't see Westin Wilson karate style comparing against John Silva, just because John, when he gets inside, it's over. For someone like Westin Wilson, which pretty sure he got knocked out in the past, other than Joe Henderson Brito. He got submitted. No, actually, Joe Henderson Brito was his only loss, but 3 losses in the LFA, 1 win in Bellator, 1 in the UFC. John Silva all day. You're not gonna get the best odds for him, but he's gonna be a good parlay, in my humble opinion. John Silva is the pick for this fight. Next fight, we got Tom Nolan and Nikolas Motta. I don't know if you guys have seen Tom Nolan, but this guy he's a fucking train, like he says. When he goes out strong and fast, and he's gonna finish you. And again, on Contender, he had a vicious knockout against Bogdan Grad. This guy, he's a menace. And Nikolas Motta, to be honest, he packs power. He's a good striker, but he's not gonna handle Tom Nolan. He's just not. He got knocked out many times. He's gonna be too slow. When you looked at his fight against Trey Ogden, Trey was winning. I had the over 2.5, and the judge had a premature stoppage, which cost me my bet because it was disqualified. But man, he looked slow. He didn't know what he was doing. He looked helpless when he came to the corner. And Tom Nolan is gonna be too much for him. And Tom Nolan is my pick. He's obviously a favorite for a good reason. Tom Nolan is my pick all day. Give me Tom Nolan to win this against Nikolas Motta. Next fight, we got Farid Basharat against Tyler Lapilus. Everybody are favoring Farid, and for a good reason. Farid he's a phenomenal fighter everywhere. He has phenomenal jiu-jitsu, wrestling, striking. I picked him in his last fight against Clayton Rodriguez, and obviously I was surprised at how easy Farid made it look. He just took him down and choked him first round. I was happy because I had a big bet on Farid at that fight. But I don't think it's gonna happen with Tyler Lapilus, because we saw in his last fight against Loughran, we saw that Tyler Lapilus has good takedown defense. Now, Loughran did get him down, and obviously, Farid Basharat wrestling is much better than Loughran. So, and his striking is much better than Loughran. So, I just see Farid winning. I don't see Farid finishing Tyler. I think he was never finished as well. He only lost by decision. So I would say Farid is gonna win by decision, hard-fought decision. Tyler is no joke, and I'm really looking forward to this fight just because Farid and both of them are good. Farid is just better. So Farid is the pick, but don't take Taylor lightly. I wouldn't put Farid in a parlay. I would say not any safety parlay, but the pick is Farid for me. Next fight we got Felipe Bunes against Dennis Bondar. So if we look at both of these fighters, Felipe Bunes he's more of a jiu-jitsu guy. He has really good submission game, and when you look at Bondar on the other side, Bondar is more of a wrestling pressure fighter. He didn't have the best UFC. I'd say he wasn't really impressing in his UFC fights, but Bunes is doing his debut in the UFC. He should have fought Zaglis Zamagulov, but obviously that was cancelled. And I would say that if I look at both of them, I see Bondar winning. His pressure, his wrestling will give him the win. In my honest opinion, in my humble opinion, we're gonna see Bondar winning. I'm not gonna bet on this fight, just because both of them are not that good in my opinion. So with that being said, Bondar is the pick, probably by decision. Next fight we got Preston Parsons and Bassil Hafez. Bassil Hafez, when he fought Jack Dana Maddalena, man, he looked phenomenal. With his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu, his guard pass, Maddalena outstruck him, and Bassil looked exhausted. In the third round, he looked like he's gonna die, and he lost by split decision. I actually thought Bassil should have won that fight, just because Jack was controlling a lot, and eventually he won because he really outstruck him and he looked exhausted in the fourth. But when you look at Preston Parsons, he's bringing the wrestling game as well. Now, will it be enough to take down and submit someone like Bassil? I don't think so. Just because Bassil, he's a black belt. He's a good black belt. He has a good wrestling of himself. He is a more, I'd say he's the stronger guy out of the two. And my only concern with Hafez is, will he be able to push the pressure, to keep the pressure for 3 rounds? I don't see him getting submitted. I don't see him getting knocked out. I'm just worried about him losing the 3rd round by Preston just pressuring him and getting the win. So I'll pick Bassil to win. I think that in a full camp, because against Maddalena he came short notice. So full camp, Bassil might be a different beast. So just for that, I'm gonna give him the pick, and probably gonna win by decision if he wins. Next fight we got Marcus McGhee and Gaston Bolaños. So for those of you who don't know Gaston Bolaños, this guy, he's a Muay Thai base. He got good knees, good elbows. He's a phenomenal striker. But McGhee he's a slick striker in his own. And not only is a slick striker, he has a good submission game as well, a good grappling game. And I just see the smartest way of Marcus winning this fight is taking it to the ground and submitting Gaston, because Gaston, he's not a joke when it comes to his striking game. He was never knocked out. Most of his losses, like you can see, came from submission, just because he's coming from a Muay Thai base. And I just think that if Marcus want to play the smart game, he should take it to the ground and finish him. And that's what I see him doing against a guy like Gaston. So Marcus is the pick. I'm probably going to do a live bet on this one. If Marcus can get Gaston to the ground, then Gaston is done. But if it's going to stay standing, Gaston, he might get the win. So it's a live bet for me. Guys, if you haven't liked the video, help your brother out. Like the video, share it. Help me get out there with my videos. I really appreciate that. Now, next fight, we got Yana Santos and Norma Dumont. I love Norma Dumont here. Yana Santos, I just think it's over for her. I think that when you look at both of them, Norma Dumont is better everywhere. She's coming off a win streak. She had her last fight against Chelsea Chandler, where Chelsea was just running away from her in the cage. It was funny as hell, especially because I got Norma to win money line. Now Santos, she's a tough fighter. She's not gonna get finished, in my opinion. She's a good striker, and she's no slouch on the ground. But Norma Dumont, she's too good. She's too professional. I see Norma Dumont winning, most likely by submission. And I think it's time for Carol Rosa to think about something else, because it doesn't look good, bro. Next fight, we got the Dominican Republic. From the Dominican Republic, we got Waldo Cortes-Acosta against Andrei Arlovski. I like Waldo here just because he's been looking phenomenal lately. Even in his fight against De Lima, he lost by decision, but he still looked good. His last fight, he got a KO against Lucas Bresky. And, Arlovski, he's not the same fighter he used to be. Nobody can stay good in this game for such a long time. Time does its thing in this fight game. And Arlovski is 45 years old already. We got Waldo coming, 32 years old. He's on a roll. He's bigger than Arlovski. He has good takedown defense. He has good get-up game. He fought against a really good wrestler in the past, before a contender. He fought against a guy who is actually now in the UFC. What's his name? Thomas Peterson. And he won against Thomas Peterson, he's a really good wrestler and a fighter overall. So I don't see any path for Andrei Arlovski to win, just because the age does what age does. I don't know if he's gonna knock out Arlovski. He did got knocked out in his last fight. He got submitted by De Lima, so it might be a finish. He might get the knockout. But if I will bet Waldo, it's gonna be money line, and Waldo is the pick. Next fight, we got Jim Miller against Gabriel Benítez. Jim Miller looks like he's getting better with age, He's 40 years old, but he's all about longevity and diet and all that stuff. And it shows. Like in his last fight, I picked him to win against Jesse Butler, who came. It was his debut, and he just came out like an animal. He knocked him out viciously. Jesse was out, and it seems like Jim A10 is getting stronger with his punches, and he's good everywhere. Like he has good wrestling, he has good submissions. Yeah, and he's 40 years old now. He's taking a real Benítez, which is not. He's already 35 years old. He has a good kicking game, but you know, his chin is probably compromised by now. He have a few losses by knockout. Not the best streak on the UFC overall. He got KO'd by David Unama. I think it's Jim Miller winning here. I like Jim Miller here. He's an animal, even in his age. I just see him as the better, more complete fighter. Gabriel does have a good kicking game, but I don't think it's gonna be enough for him to handle A10. So give me A10 to win. Next fight, we got Phil Yu against Bruno Ferreira. I feel like Ferreira was exposed in his last fight against what's his name, Ruzibov against Ruzibov, because he got knocked the fuck out. He got the counter right. He got ground and pounded. And I was surprised because this guy was making his debut. And okay, he had many fights before that. He was no joke, but I feel like the Hulk got exposed. The problem is he's going against Phil Hughes, which he himself is chinny as hell. He got 3 knockouts the first round and another knockout in the second round. And when you are fighting a guy that calls himself the Hulk, you know he's gonna bring power. And although it feels like a coin flip, but I have to go with Bruno Ferreira just because he packs power. And if he gets one good punch, like Hughes is out. He's out. But I feel like the same could happen for Bruno. Like he can get knocked the fuck out. So I would take the under on this card. To be completely honest, I'll take the under here. With that being said, Bruno would be my pick if we're gonna go on money line. And you know, like he got to the second round only 2 times, and he knocked out people both of those times. He got a knockout win against Gregory Rodriguez, which is aging well because Gregory Rodriguez is doing great in the UFC so far. So Bruno is no slouch. Like he got power. If he connects, it's over. Just for that, I'm gonna pick him to win, but I'm not gonna pick any because I just don't like putting my money on chinny fighters. So that's my pick. Caitlin Vieira against Macy Chiasson. I like Caitlin here. I think Caitlin got robbed in all of her last fights. I got too many tabs open. Let me just get some organization going on. So where were we? We were with Caitlin Vieira against Macy. The reason I like Caitlin because she's a complete fighter. We saw our stand-up game against Raquel Pennington, which in my opinion she won. She got robbed in that fight. We saw her ground game against Penny Kienza, she's a very durable individual, but she controlled her in a dominant fashion most of the fight. Now, Macy, when you look at her record, she got knocked out in the past. She got submitted in the past. She doesn't pack too much power in her hands. So, I'm not saying it's gonna be an easy fight for Caitlin because she's a good fighter. Getting to a split decision with Norma Dumont is good. She lost to Raquel Pennington in a guillotine choke where we saw Caitlin actually winning against Pennington, in my opinion. So I just like Caitlin here better than Macy. I see her better everywhere compared to Macy. And I think we should have seen Vieira fighting against the current champion right now, Pennington is gonna fight against Myra Bunes Silva. So my pick is gonna be Vieira, and if she wins against Macy, I think she should get the fight against Maria Bueno Silva because, in my humble opinion, Maria Bueno Silva is gonna choke Pennington out. That's my pick. Next fight, we got Mario Bautista against Ricky Simon. Mario Bautista lost to Dumont Blackshear in his last fight. Blackshear won that fight. I don't care what you think. Blackshear won that fight. He got robbed bad in that decision. Now, if we look at this fight here with Ricky Simon, Mario Bautista, he's a good wrestler, but when you look at Ricky Simon, he's a better wrestler. He's stronger. And we saw that Dumont Blackshear put Mario Bautista on the ground a few times. He only looked worst in the third round because he got gassed. It was like his second weight cut in I think it was in 2 weeks. So that was the problem. But Ricky Simon can go full speed for 5 rounds, especially 3 rounds. I just don't see Mario Bautista winning against Simon. He fought the better competition. He's the better wrestler. He is stronger physically compared to Mario Bautista. And that's why I'm going to pick Simon to win. Probably by decision. I don't think he's going to finish Bautista. I don't think Bautista got finished. He did get finished. He got knocked out and submitted. But I don't see him getting submitted or getting knocked out by Ricky Simon. So I'll take him by decision. But if I'm going to make that bet, it's going to be money line. What else do we got? Next fight, we got Mateusz Nicolau against Manel Kape. Manel Kape lost in the past to Mateusz Nicolau. It was a split decision where Mateusz Nicolau had the upper hand when it comes to his wrestling. What I don't like about Mateusz Nicolau is his chin. I just don't like chinny guys. And Manel Kape, he was never finished. He wasn't looking that good, to be honest, against Felipe dos Santos. Like, it was a scrap. Manel did win, but he was fighting he had a good fight with Felipe. Apology. He did lose by submission one time, Mr. Manel. He was never knocked out. But I feel like this time Manel Kape is gonna be different. It's not the same cop in which he fought 2 years and 8 months ago. He really improved everywhere. So I might say that Manel can win by knockout. So Manel is the pick here. It's gonna be a hard fight, but if he gets that chin, it's over for Nikolas. So give me Manel to win. To this fight, I might do a live, because if he really gets Manel to the ground easy, might be a problem. He might get too much control time. So we're gonna see, but Manel is the pick for me in this fight. I just like overall his entire game. Especially his striking, which is really good. So that's my pick. And the main event, we got Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. When I see Ankalaev, he's like a oversized. He's like an oversized. What's his name? The current champion. His name slipped out of my head. Islam Makhachev. He feels like a bigger Islam Makhachev. He's just good everywhere. Like, everywhere. And Johnny Walker, he said he was in the desert that fight, because if he came back to the fight, Ankalaev would have finished him. First round. And Johnny Walker, I like Johnny Walker as a fighter. I liked watching him fight. He's funny. But he has a tendency to get knocked the fuck out. It happened to him 4 times in the past. And Magomed Ankalaev is no joke. He packs power. And he's gonna come stingy, because it didn't finish well between the two. There's bad blood between the two. And Ankalaev, man, he's the number 1 contender for a reason. I don't see Johnny Walker winning here. Ankalaev is just too complete. It's too good. I would take the under here. I'm not gonna pick Ankalaev because it's like he's too big of a favorite. But the under here looks good. This fight is not going the distance, especially with a wild person like Walker and a guy like Magomed for five rounds. I see Walker unfortunately getting knocked out this time against Magomed. If that doesn't happen, I would be very surprised. Anyway, guys, that's my pick. If you enjoy this content, if you like the early picks, make sure you like the video, comment, let me know what's your picks, who you think is gonna win. Maybe you have a different opinion than what I have. I would love to hear your opinion. So that's it. Subscribe and follow me on Twitter if you haven't by now. I give more description on my picks there. So I'd love to connect with you on Twitter as well. That's it for today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next card.